Everyone loves a tier list, so I figured I would go ahead and make mine over the top 5 best and top 5 worst DPS classes that you could choose as a new player coming into Lost Ark. So these top 5 are in no particular order because they're all a little bit different. Death Strike Sharpshooter. This is technically a burst class, but acts almost as though it's a consistent DPS class because you're constantly going through your burst rotation. It's also a non-directional class, meaning you can hit from anywhere and you're ranged, so you never have to be right next to the boss, which gives you a little bit more leeway to make sure you learn the fight as you're also learning your new character. And on top of all of that, it does insane damage. So the more that you learn the character, the higher damage you are going to do consistently. It is at the absolute top of the meta of DPS classes right now, and it's really fun to play. So if you like ranged classes, you like using a bow, the animations are pretty freaking cool, and you like doing big damn, Death Strike is going to be up there for you. Next on the list is Pistolir. I recently made a Pistolir on the Jumpstart server, and I'm having an absolute freaking blast. This class is so much fun. It is also non-directional, but you have to be a little bit closer for more of the skills in kind of within melee range. The other skills are more around mid to longer range, so you have a nice contrast there with your skills. The damage is really good, the animations are good, and on top of that, it's extremely simple to use since there's not a set rotation or any gauge building or anything like that. You press buttons, have fun, and that's about it. The next engraving is Demonic Impulse. This is for the Shadow Hunter Assassin. This is a transformation class that eventually, when you get enough stats, you will just be transforming into your demonic form with just a couple of skills. So you'll be in your demonic form much more than you are in your human form. It does really good damage. It's very quick. The animations are really cool, and it's very simple to use, which makes it all the more attractive for a newer player. The fourth engraving on this list for the top 5 best is the Combat Readiness Gun Lancer, or otherwise known as a Blue Gun Lancer. This playstyle, you are an absolute tank. You can truly ignore a lot of the boss's mechanics because you'll have a big shield over you most of the time. You are in the front of the boss, you can taunt the boss, so your teammates will really love that, especially if they're back attackers, and you do decent damage, especially for the amount of utility that you bring, because it's basically unlimited weak point, which is the destruction damage in this game, and an insane amount of stagger, but you also have an ability that gives your teammates shields. So you are a very welcome part of pretty much any group that you join. And the fifth engraving on this list is the Predator Slayer. This is a melee back attack class, but because it is extremely easy to do really good damage with this class, as you will be running full swiftness, so you're going to be running around very quick, your skills come out extremely quick, and you do great damage. The only thing you have to really be paying attention to is your uptime and being at the back of the boss. But again, because you are moving around so quick and your skills are super fast, you don't have to worry too much about that being a factor. All of these top 5 DPS classes have a different playstyle, so if you are interested in any of them, then make sure and check out more videos about them. Check out some build guide videos. Make sure that it's the right one for you before you go and use a power pass or an express event on it. Now let's get into the 5 worst DPS classes, and 5 that I would absolutely not recommend to any new player of Lost Ark. Empress's Grace Arcana. Arcana is a class that you are randomly going to be given cards that you then have to utilize, and then you have to use the other skills in your toolkit appropriately to maximize the damage within that. Now, you don't necessarily know which card you're going to get, and this makes it very difficult for a new player to utilize this class efficiently. So I would highly recommend you stay away from this class. The DPS can be really solid, but it's just so hard, especially as a new player, to utilize this class to its full potential. The next class engraving that I would not recommend for a new player is Shock Training Scrapper. You are slow, you are a back attack class, and you are melee. And on top of those things, Scrapper needs a rework, at least with the animations, because frankly, they're just outdated. So you're not even having these big flashy skills that are being used whenever you're bumbling around like a turtle trying to get to the back of the boss, and when you finally get there, the boss moves. So the skill that you just used does 0 damage. It's a very hard class to play, and an even harder class to play well consistently. There's really only one person that I play with on a consistent basis that uses shock and does pretty well most of the time. Shout out Camel. Moving on to Deathblow Striker. This is another engraving I would not recommend you go for. Because of the playstyle of Deathblow Striker, you have to be extremely efficient with your gauge building skills, and a lot of times you're not going to be able to do so, and that's completely out of your control because the boss moves or does a different mechanic, or maybe they go into a cutscene or whatever it is. So it's extremely hard to play this class to its full potential unless you're playing a boss that just doesn't move, and there's only a couple that kind of fall into that category in the end game of Lost Ark. Next up is Berserker's Technique. While the damage output potential of this class is pretty good, the ability to actually do that is very bad because of what I said previously with the boss moving to a different cutscene or doing a different mech, because of how long the burst window is and how long you have to spend building up that gauge to utilize the next burst window. It just makes it very tough. And last but not least, Moon Sound, or Lunar Voice in our version, Reaper. For an experienced player, Lunar Voice Reaper is in the middle or just above the middle in terms of DPS and an overall tier list. It's about the middle of the pack. Now the problem with that is, for an experienced player, you still have to play the class extremely efficiently to just do middle of the pack damage. Now for a new player, that's going to be impossible, and you're going to be doing absolutely 0 DPS with this class. She doesn't really offer any utility to the team and is just a DPS goblin that doesn't really do a lot of DPS. You can see where I'm going with this. And that's why this is at the very bottom of the pack for the classes that I would recommend a new player to play. But as a general tip for any class that you're wanting to try out, look up videos on it. Go look at build guides. See if you feel like this is really the class that you want to spend a power pass on or use the express event with. It's much better to do a little bit of research beforehand than to use the express event, lock that character in, and then end up really not enjoying the class at all because, you know, maybe the animations aren't quite what you expected, or it's just not as flashy as you like, or you have to back attack and you didn't realize that was a thing, so you don't want to do that. Maybe you want a ranged class as opposed to a melee class. All of those things come into account, so do your research beforehand. And for anyone who has already been playing this game for a while that maybe is watching this video, I want to hear about what you think about the top 5 DPS and top 5 worst DPS classes. But keep in mind, this is more for new players, so give me your lists down below. I want to hear from you. And if you're a brand new player that's just coming to the game, let me know what class you went with and if you're enjoying it. And if you're not enjoying it, tell me which class you're looking forward to next trying out, or one maybe that you're wondering. And if you have any questions, I would love to help you out the best that I can. Or you can, of course, ask in our community Discord. The link to that is down below. But guys, that is the end of this video. Make sure and subscribe to the channel if you like Lost Ark content. It is going to be in your best interest to do so. And if you're a new player, make sure and stick around because I'm going to continue to make some more new player friendly videos to guide you in the best direction so you can have the best time playing this game. I will see you on the next video.